All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new edition of the Three Wise Men. This is Shannon hosting this time around, and as usual, we have Sid and Arvind with us. So, boys, quite an eventful week last week. Let's start off a little on the somber note, and just want to say thoughts with the family of Ugo Iego, who passed away earlier this week. A sad thought, but uh, let's let's get to let's get to the football business of this week. So Sid, uh, I want to bring you in right away and want to talk about the two mouth-watering clashes that we are looking forward to this weekend at the FA Cup. Spurs versus Chelsea and Arsenal versus Man City. Uh, Sid, do you think this is perhaps the best chance to for Mauricio Pochettino to open up his trophy account?
For sure, especially on the back of Chelsea's defeat against United. I think uh, it would have given every team in the Premier League an insight into how to break into Chelsea's system. And Spurs do have the players to do it. There was a big debate on how the other teams can use United's ploy midweek against in the games going ahead. So yes, I'm looking forward to that game. I'm again, as we mentioned in the previous podcast, Harry Kane's back. The front four is amazing. So it should be a good game. From the sound of it, Chelsea's squad was hit with an illness. I think Marcus Alonso missed out on the last game, and we were told that Costa and Moses had an illness. And today I was reading that Gary Cahill just got operated for gastroenteritis. So they might go in with um, relatively weaker squad. So Spurs should just look to capitalize.
Fair enough, fair enough. Arvind, we spoke at length about what happened, the events that happened at United at Old Trafford last weekend. Do you think this is perfect opportunity for Contestment to bounce back from what seemed like a very demoralizing defeat?
Very true. It's a good thing it's the FA Cup and we are playing the probably the best team in the English Premier League. The couple of things I wanted to add to what Sid said is yes, it looks like Cahill is out, and what was common between the Crystal Palace defeat and the Man United defeat for Chelsea is the same back six were not in the team, and this time it looks like Cahill is going to be injured. While it disrupts the continuity, I think a team of the caliber of Chelsea need to manage with at least a couple of injuries. It gives maybe Zuma or Nathan Aki a chance to come in, and that'll be interesting to see what happens. Back to I know Spurs don't have a good record at Wembley, but with the way they are playing right now, just swatting away teams, this is an excellent opportunity for them to get to a big final and prove their credentials.
Yep, exactly.
Just
Sid asked me last week that what do you think Pochettino is ready for, one of the bigger name clubs, and I said what's missing from his resume is a trophy, and
right.
I think I stand by that. I think this is the best opportunity for Spurs to get that winning mentality in their squad, as Pochettino to make a mark, finally winning a trophy with such an exciting team.
And
I
Yes,
just
would
to
Sid.
add
like
a
to add. Go ahead, Sid. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to add a quick note, I think it might be a great opportunity for John Terry. There were strong rumors today that John Terry might be handed a lifeline for the FA Cup game now that Cahill's missing out. So it might be a good way for him to show that he's still uh, in it to win it. He's still good enough for the Premier League. I really hope he plays the game and goes on to play the final as well.
Yeah, we can't speak enough good things about John Terry, but I think what Conte said in his press conference on Friday was that he sees Terry as a like for like replacement for Luis in the middle of the back three, And Luis being in the middle helps mask some of his weaknesses where he tends to drift out of position. I just wanted to add one more note. I believe Herrera did an amazing job last week in man marking Hazard, and that might be a tough task if you put let's say a Wanyama or a Dembele on him. It's so I might be a little
Why not?
wary of just copying the
Why
same thing.
why not an Eric Dyer? I think Eric Dyer is equally capable of doing the same job.
That might be a good idea. Yeah, but I mean, what I just wanted to add was it was Herrera's brilliance last week that equally contributed to the win, and man marking Hazard might backfire if he makes a run that and the person loses him. So it's one of those that it worked great last week, but it's a very dangerous ploy.
Yeah, yeah, true, absolutely. What I really want to add to what you said was, I don't think Spurs have to follow that path of combating Chelsea. They have played Chelsea very recently, and they beat Chelsea with using a different game plan. They did not have to literally man mark Hazard, so to say. So it'll be interesting to see. I guess one of you alluded to it earlier, where Spurs have had a terrible record at Wembley. So I hope uh, they follow this game, or they pursue this game as an as a neutral, rather than thinking, oh, Wembley was our home ground in the European Champions League game, so might give them a better mental state to to prepare for it. uh,
And just one last quick note from my side. We've spoken at length of about how brilliant Spurs have been. I found another amazing stat which said that since the beginning of the last season, Spurs have had the most points in the Premier League. I think it was around uh, they're around 11 or 12 points clear than Man City, who was second. So this is a total of both seasons
mhm.
combined until now. So that just shows how consistent and brilliant they've been.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the players who's totally underrated and overlooked in that sense is Toby Alderweireld. And I saw something on the likes of him fouling a total of 16 players across these two seasons that Sid pointed out to. So that's amazing, and that's brilliant for someone who plays in the middle of the center of the defense, right? Usually you see early burly center halves, and he's got like the highest long pass completion for any active center back in the Premier League since the time he's been at
And
Spurs.
and it just shows how brilliant Pochettino was in getting him. It was a transfer very similar to uh Willian's transfer to Chelsea, where he'd agreed deals with I think it was
Southampton. Yeah,
Spurs, I think.
Willian had agreed a deal to Spurs.
yeah,
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 you're
yeah.
right.
Oh,
Right,
I thought you were talking about
and
Alderweireld now.
and at the last moment they snapped up Willian. Same was the case with Alderweireld. Agreed a deal with Southampton from Atletico, and then Spurs snapped him up. So it just shows how important a recruitment that was.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
I don't know if I'm digressing here, but it also, I think he is the one guy who should have been in the team of the year. I don't know what Gary Cahill is doing there. The goals against Arsenal and Swansea that were conceded because of mistakes from Gary Cahill. I don't know how he made it to the team of the year. I believe Toby Alderweireld was definitely a better choice.
For sure, I think there were three or four controversial inclusions, but we could talk about those later.
yeah, we'll get to that in a little later on this pod itself. Uh, what I really do want to add about what Spurs need to do, and what Spurs might want to do is, and what's really lacking is right now is Chelsea have done that. They have won trophies. They have come to. They have had a squad that's won trophies. They have had a manager who's won trophies in Italian league. And so, do you think this might play a maybe a tiny role on the back of the Spurs players' minds that, hey, this is our shot. Maybe it's finally a chance for us to get some silverware.
Why not? I mean, and they have to do it to get a start. They have to do it. And it'll be, as you said, it'll be at the back of their mind. And as Arvind pointed out, it'll be at the back of their mind that they've been horrible at Wembley, and they're going against the league table toppers. So Chelsea. I mean, on form, Spurs are, you know, the team to beat, but Chelsea are still the favorite. So, um, yes, they will want to beat Chelsea, make a statement. It's really important for Spurs right now to win a trophy because they've been lingering at that second place for, a couple of seasons or maybe more, and no trophies to prove what they're doing, as you said.
Yep, yep. And I'll bring you here in Arvind. And if you were a Chelsea player and you were part of the Chelsea coaching setup, what would you tell your players? Given that you might be little weaker than your normal full strength team, what would you be thinking about? What would you be telling your players how to go along with this game?
Yeah, that's a good question. First off, there's a couple of things. We Chelsea lacked energy in the first 15-20 minutes of that United game. They were just completely outrun, and it's very important to start positively. And we know that Chelsea knows that the wide wingers or wing backs of Spurs like to press ahead a lot, and that would mean space for Hazard and Pedro if they go a little more wide. So there is definitely a potential, and but the Spurs team is great. I think as a spectator, it'll be a beautiful game to watch. But we need Chelsea need Kante to step up to stop Christian Eriksen as well. So there's a few things there tactically that will be mouth-watering to watch.
And just to finish up on this, I don't think either of the two teams is a favorite going into this. Both teams are equal, if you see. But I really hope Chelsea give the likes of Ake and Zuma the chance to prove their worth. I think they've proven that they're capable of beating the best in the Premier League, but they've not gotten game time at Chelsea. So if Chelsea can go in with the likes of Ake and Zuma and win, that'll be good for Chelsea.
Yeah. Do any of you guys think that this might play an effect in how the league winds up? Like Chelsea 4 points ahead. If they win tomorrow, do you think it will give them much needed impetus for the rest of the league? What do you think, Arvin?
I think of course, it's a psychological thing. Whoever wins tomorrow will not have saying in the Premier League, but we will know the outcome of the Premier League relatively soon. I think Chelsea's next two games after this one is Everton and Southampton, which are the two toughest games that Chelsea have. So, but with respect to this game, I think the FA Cup as well is an equally important tournament. From a Chelsea's perspective, they would like to win both. It would be a great statement of intent if they can convincingly beat Spurs, but that would not be an easy task.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Very, very exciting game coming up. And let's talk about the other semi-final. Then we have Arsenal versus Man City. So essentially, Arsenal playing the team that they supply players every season. I'm just ribbing them. But uh, Sid, what do you think are the key battles? What do you think? Arsenal have been in such a slump, man, of lately.
Right.
City have been in a better run of form, especially since Sane came into the team. So, what do you think? What players do Arsenal have to keep an extra careful attention on to make sure they get something from this game?
You're really going to get an honest opinion out of me because I hate both teams equally. So I'm not favoring either team. But I think City are the favorites, or not the favorites. They're the stronger team going into this. We've spoken at length about how strong Aguero, Sterling, and Saleh have been. And there are strong rumors that Gabriel Jesus might be back for this game. He's been training and recovered magically from his broken metatarsal. So um, City are stronger, but honestly, I really hope that Arsenal can win. I think this is Wenger's only chance to prove himself. I think top four is impossible for him. It's not mathematically impossible, but I think they're too far behind the other teams. Uh, so if Wenger has to prove anything at all, FA Cup is his chance, and I think he'll go all out tomorrow to win it. Let's see what happens. If Arsenal were to win, the likes of Sanchez, Ozil have to turn up, and they've been asleep in the past few games. So it's just the Arsenal players kind of turning up for the game and for the day. So it should be an exciting game, equally exciting as the other FA Cup tie. I think both games should be good.
Yeah, for sure. Arvind, we see a game, possible game between defense lacking in character. Actually, two defenses lacking in leadership and character, and two really good attacks. Uh, what do you think? Who do you think will what the key battles might be, and who might have to get over the other? What do you think? What might happen this game?
There's there's a couple of things I'm really looking forward to. We spoke about City's leaky defense, and it's good that you have a company who is there, who is back now. I see Company and Stones partnering together again, and this gives Stones a very good opportunity to work with an actual leader, a great centre back who has been there, done that, and I think it'll be another good learning experience for him. City have managed to keep a couple of clean sheets after Company got back, so I'm definitely looking forward to them. The second thing is I want to see Sané go up against Bellerin, two super fast players bombing up and down the wings. That would be wonderful to watch. But lastly, I don't know if you all noticed, but Arsenal played with a back three against probably the worst attack in the Premier League against Middlesbrough on Monday, and they didn't do too well. But it looks like if Mustafi isn't present for this game, then they might be running into some serious problems in defense. I don't think they can do a back three without him.
Yeah, Arvind, I'm glad you brought that up. I was just gonna talk about the Arsenal back three. So, Hector Bellerin was fit for the last game, and Wenger went in with the back three. And post match, he said he was satisfied with how his defense performed. So, it'll be really interesting to see if he goes with the back three again against City or not. Personally, I think he should play Bellerin because he's the only player I see who can match Sane's speed. But he's been horrific defensively, in the recent games. So, um, yeah, it'll be an interesting matchup both ways. Whether it's Sterling matching up with Monreal or Gibbs, or Sane matching up on the right hand side with the right centre back or Bellerin.
If Wenger wants to be a little more defensive, he can. I think Oxlade Chamberlain was playing at right white back, and
Yeah.
he can be replaced by Bellerin. But yeah, like you said, Bellerin has been a little disappointing defensively.
Yep. Thanks for bringing up the formation, the that Arsenal used against Middlesbrough. That was going to be my next question. So, Sid, we have been really harsh on Arsene Wenger. Uh, I think ever since we started this podcast, to be honest, especially you and I, uh, and we called out for some change, something to go away from his standard formation, or something to go away from the way that Arsene Wenger likes to play football. And he did a little bit of that against Middlesbrough. At least he showed some intent to change the formation, change things around. Do you think uh, it's a useful formation for Arsenal? Do you think they have the personnel to pull it off? And do you think it'll be useful for them? Do you think it was like a dress rehearsal for playing against City?
Why not? You know, so I think it was Jeff Shreves who asked him post match about when he'd started preparing for this, and Wenger was very honest. He said he'd prepared for this a while back, but he wasn't sure whether to try this in the Premier League or against a stronger team. Uh, so he chose a relatively easier game to try it out, and it was an average performance from the defense. And as you said, we've been calling out for something different, a change. and it was refreshing to see Arsene Wenger, for the first time in the last, century or whatever, try out something different. Honestly, I think if it was any other team, it would have not worked. They tried it against the team who scored the least goals in the Premier League, so it was a good game to try it out. I think he'll go with the back four again. I don't think it's gonna persist for the long term or work out in the long term for Arsenal. They don't. Uh, um, I don't think they have the personnel to carry it in the long term. They're gonna bench a lot of players that they wouldn't like to bench. If they bench Bellerin for a long time, Barca are gonna come running in. So it's not a thing for the long term, I think.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I
Uh,
think
yeah,
just
go ahead,
real quick.
Arvind.
I think Bellerin can still play at right wing back, but the actual problem with them doing a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1 is the two center backs around Koscielny. Rob Holding and Gabriel Paulista just, how do they three stop Aguero and Sané and Sterling? I absolutely don't see that happening. Again, if Mustafi comes back, there's some hope, but yeah, that just looks really weak, and I
And
don't think that can hold them.
you mentioned Bellerin being played as a wing back. I think the only reason he trusts and plays Oxlade-Chamberlain is because of he trusts him offensively. I don't think Bellerin is that reliable going ahead, cutting through players, crossing, taking shots. So I think Oxlade-Chamberlain is better that way, and that's why he's been playing as a wing back.
Yeah, great thoughts there. Uh, Sid, if you were Alexis Sanchez and you know hypothetically you fail at tomorrow's hurdle, what would you be thinking? What would what would go through your mind? Come almost end of the season, 5 games to go. Do you think he'll likes of him and Ozil will be motivated enough to stay another season at Arsenal, or do you think Arsenal should just cut their losses and get whatever they can for those two guys?
If I was Alexis Sanchez, I would man up and have the best game of my life tomorrow and the upcoming games, because I would like to go to the best team come this summer. I, I I really think if Sanchez and Ozil had to sign a contract, they would have signed it by now. So for a fact, you know it's pretty apparent that they're playing to see out the season. So uh, I mean, for the sake of football, for the sake of Arsenal fans, and for the sake of Alexis Sanchez and Ozil, I hope they can just prove their worth for once and show who they really are, so that even for them they can end up with a good team.
All right. So all in all, two very mouth-watering, exciting clashes. And to be fair, we don't know. We can't even pick a winner from each of the games. It can swing either way. So that's what we look forward in a cup game. That's what we look forward in a competition. And let's see how it goes. Uh, so moving on, let's go back to our staple food, staple diet. Let's talk about the Premier League. And there were there are some decent games coming up this week and some games important for some teams, uh, especially with Champions League and Europe qualifying. So let's start with United. Sid, United play Burnley away at Turf Moor. Uh, we just got some terrible news about season probably career ending injuries to Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and some ligament damage again to Marcus Rojo. As a United supporter, we see two of your main players go down in one game, especially coming close to the squeaky bum time, as Fergie used to call it. Uh, what do you think will happen? What do you think? What options does Mourinho have to replace those two key players in his starting 11?
Any other day we would have been so confident going to Burnley, but it's kind of scary now going into the end of the season with such a depleted squad. Injuries haven't been kind to us. as you mentioned, Ibrahimovic and Rojo both have ligament injuries, and they're probably out for the season, and probably Zlatan's out for almost this year. Going into this game, I was just talking to Arvind before we started. It's so tricky who we play in the center of defense. I think this game he'll probably go with Bailly and Blind, uh, just because Burnley don't have the likes of Aguero, Sterling, and Sane, which we have to face in the upcoming midweek game. So um, he might go with Bailly and Blind, but just because we played 120 minutes, I am there's something inside me which tells me that he's going to play Alex Tuanzebe, uh, either as a substitute or as a starter, and it'll be really exciting to see if he does that. Also, Valencia played the entirety of the 120 minutes, so he's kind of shuffled around at right back as well. So depending upon who he plays at centre back, if he goes in with Blind, he might go with Fosu Mensah at right back. If he goes in with Tuanzebe, he might start with Valencia just to keep it balanced as far as experience is concerned. I think
Mm-hmm.
Damian's going to be a straight swap for sure. Shaw clearly played with Cramps for 30 minutes. So he already mentioned in his pre-game press conference that Herrera and Young are fit. Uh, and I probably see Rooney and Martial playing as well. So it's a depleted squad. I really hope we can win just to keep the top four hopes alive through the Premier League. But the only thing to be careful of going ahead is that we don't have any more injuries.
Yeah, yeah, it's something you can't really foresee. If you had told me we'll lose two of our main players through ligament
It's
damage in the same
isn't
game,
it
I would
isn't
have
it
probably
funny
put some money on it and been close to a millionaire today.
Yeah,
But
isn't it funny that we're talking about Marcos Rojo as being a main player?
yeah, uh, yeah, I'd like you to chime in, Arvin, from a more neutral perspective. You probably, with other United fans, you've heard with Sid and me, where we were fearing every time Marcus Rojo was anywhere close to the first team squad or starting 11. But he's been such an immense presence next to Bai, and so dependable. Even next to Phil Jones, he was so dependable. What do you think? Do you think it's just added coaching or confidence from the manager that he was able to show his performances, or was it always there and we just weren't able to see it? When he was playing for Van Hal or when he playing on the left side of defense.
I see a lot of Pepe in Marcos Rojo, and he's just one of those no nonsense defenders that is very similar to Eric Bailly as well, where you don't see him fitting into a Guardiola team, but he's such a Mourinho like defender where he's strong in the air and first job clear the ball out. It's given United's other injuries, this is one big one. But I'm more disappointed about Zlatan being injured. It's great seeing him in the Premier League, and yeah, if it's a year-long injury, I know that it doesn't make sense for United to give him another contract, but I wish that he gets another contract, and we see him sometime in the next season. One more thing, I wanted to just bring up a couple of points about Burnley. The other top five teams have already been to Turf Moor. Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester City dropped points against them. Arsenal scored in extra time to win that game,
Oh,
and
was it a game where Sanchez handballed or something like that? Was it a very controversial? Well, never
I
mind.
think it was a
Yeah.
controversial game. That was the one where I believe Wenger pushed the officials and things like that. And Spurs scored in the second half to win that game. But this is definitely a tough point. I'm looking forward to Rashford. I think he's had his best week in United at United with that Cruyff turn against Anderlecht was just brilliant, and he was amazing against Chelsea as well. I'm looking forward to him going up against Michael Keane, and that's one battle I'm looking forward to. So this should be an exciting game.
Yeah,
Yep.
Arvind, you bring out some great points. Michael Keane would, especially Michael Keane would have added impetus to, perform better, just because he's playing against Man United. You mentioned Marcus Rashford. I really doubt that Mourinho is going to play him tomorrow. Knowing that Zlatan's out for the foreseeable future, and he played 120 minutes, and ran ran like a tiger for 120 minutes. I really don't think he's going to play. I hope he plays Martial and Rooney and trusts them to perform tomorrow rather than playing Rashford, because the game against Man City is probably more important. Not that this isn't. And lastly, I think you put it very well that Marcus Rojo has been, he's like a no nonsense defender, and you compared him very well to Pepe. I think what Mourinho has done, which is different from Van Gaal, is he's probably brought him back to his basics, told him what he's good at, which is just
Heading
clearing the
the
ball.
ball,
Yeah,
kicking the
clearing
ball.
the ball. You don't see Marcus Rojo making runs like Bailly or Carrick or Blind and passing the ball. Whenever he gets the ball, his job is to just clear the ball. That's about it. So he's good at that, and kudos to him for doing what he's good at. But I still don't think he's a long-term centre back for Man United.
Uh, well, I like to differ a little bit with you, Sid. I think his passing is very underrated. If you watch him play, he's very comfortable with the ball at his feet, and he gives you that extra option if if midfield is being pressed, he gives that extra option of a extra man try to get the ball out of defense, and his long passes and passes along the ground are pretty decent too. So I think you are underestimated Mr. Rojo a little bit over there. But I see the point. He's mainly
Yeah, I
just
mean,
win the ball in the air, just get it to
I
your
see
attackers.
where you're coming from, but yeah, I'm not completely convinced with his passing. I see where
Of
you're
course,
coming
yes.
from when you say that his long balls have been good and his passing to the left back have been good, but they've at the best they've been decent. It's not like he's been,
Oh
uh
yeah, no, he's not
yeah,
been an Alderweireld or
exactly.
something like
So
that. Yes, yes, for
that's what
sure.
I meant. So he's not like a long term or option for Man United. That's what I meant.
Okay, yep. Um, from Burnley point of view, Arvind, would you see this? And just let me add this to to the stats that we've been talking about. And Burnley have a better home record than Man United at this point. Arvind, if you were Sean Dyche, would you think this is opportunity to get two or three, a point or maybe even more from this game, given lack of United's resources in defense and even now struggles in the attack?
I think it's an ideal opportunity for them, but I think they're going to stick with their game plan, which is to sit deep and look to get a goal on the counter. And if they sit deep, then like Sid said, if a Rashford is not playing, but if a Marshall is playing, then they won't be able to use their pace, but they will definitely be looking to get to United in the counter, especially with the depleted defense. Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I see United having a lot of possession, 60-70% easily, but I think the game will be a lot closer than United would hope for.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's been their game plan at home this season, where they just absorb pressure and use who's that Andre Gray, sorry, Andre Gray's pace to just break. And especially if Blind plays in defense for United, I think it will be a mismatch in terms of the speed of the attacker. So let's see what Mourinho does to counter that, especially after you lose one of your center defenders and the main source of your goals this season. Uh, Before I wrap up, not just about tomorrow's game. We also United also play City midweek, and that is a big 6 pointer for the Champions League. If United beat Burnley this weekend, and then if they beat uh, City in the derby, then they could potentially end third or fourth. Uh, Said same questions. We know what City's strengths are. What do you think Mourinho will do? He will he just try to shackle Sane like he did with Hazard, or will he just trust his team to outperform City?
Tomorrow's result is going to be really important. If we win tomorrow, Mourinho is going to go all out for that City game because then top four will be in our hands. Because if we beat City, we'll overtake them. So tomorrow's result is very important. Going into the City game, I really hope he saves Marcus Rashford because I think he can beat any defender as far as running is concerned, be it Company, Otamendi, John Stones, anyone. So uh, it'll be a good game again. Defense would be a problem going into the likes, playing against the likes of Sane, Starling, Aguero with Bai and a question mark at the other centre back position. But again, I think he'll save Valencia for Sane. So it'll be a mouth-watering derby, and I really look forward to it.
Yeah, especially since
Shannon,
the home game was so close, right? Go ahead, Narvin.
yeah, I wanted to quickly add if Mourinho is going to man mark anyone, it would be Kevin De Bruyne or David Silva because you know s- unlike in Chelsea's team, Sane is not the main creator. He's more of a finisher.
Yeah.
Whereas for Chelsea, a Matic or a Kante is not going to put a through ball to Hazard, and hence Hazard had to create his chances as well. And man marking him made sense. I think in this case, stopping City, it would be very important for them to stop Silva and De Bruyne. And those two have the amazing capability of creating these very small pockets of space. So I think it will be a lot tougher to use the same tactics against City that was used against Chelsea.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
very
don't.
well put, Arvind. I totally agree with you. Sorry, Sid, before I let you
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
put your input again. I think that you hit the nail on the head there with Kevin De Bruyne. But we've seen City try to counter attack. They try to get the first goal and then try to counter. That's what they did against Southampton, where they nicked the first goal through Company, and Southampton just caught them out on counters after counter after that. So I think Mourinho will be wary of that. He'll be wary of the pace that Sterling, Sane, even De Bruyne offer. And I think he might have Bai and whoever, maybe Shaw plays left back to counter that. But great points there. So do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, Arvind brings up some great points. I think it'll be interesting to see who he Guardiola plays and how he plays them. He's played around with his midfielder. But I wanna bring up something which I hate to say. Firstly, we've praised Marcos Rojo, which I thought would have been the last thing in the world that I do. But I also want to bring up Marwan Fellaini. I think he's been very influential in the midfield, and he's actually been good. I mean, he's played in the midfield in the past, but he wasn't any good. But if
What are
we
you
go into
talking about? Did you forget the Zidane turn he did last year?
yeah, if we go in with a Fellaini, Herrera, and a Pogba against Silva, De Bruyne, and even a Fernandinho, I think it'll be a well matched midfield. So it'll be a very balanced game, I think, as far as the midfield is concerned. So just it'll be interesting to see who's better offensively because I don't trust City's defense as well.
Just
Yeah.
adding a couple of 2 cents to Fellini. I had a discussion with some United fans last week after the Chelsea game, and they were saying how Fellaini is playing within his domain. He's not there to run past 4 or 5 players, but he uses his strengths and he paused the midfield with whatever capabilities he has.
Exactly.
Again, if
Exactly. Exactly what I brought up about Marcos Rojo. I think Mourinho has
yeah.
done an excellent job of playing the players to their strengths. So you're not like Van Gaal. You're not wanting Fellaini to do a Pogba and finish in the box. He can't do that. So you want to play Fellaini, to what he's good at. So if for 80 minutes you're playing him in the midfield just to be that nuisance, and after that go up front and just try and finish with the crosses coming in. I think that's what Fellaini is good at. That's what Everton used him for. That's why we paid 30 million for him.
Yeah, a little over the budget, I would
Yeah,
think, but
yeah.
I see your point.
No, I'm not. I'm
Uh,
not saying that 30 million was justified. I'm just saying that's what United saw in him when they
yeah, yeah,
bought
yeah,
him.
for sure, for sure. And before we move on to the other games this week, just seems that the Anderlecht game, it had its it was a pricey game. We lost a couple of players, ended up playing 120 minutes. That could have been finished in a 90-minute game again. Uh, but Sid, you want to add anything now? We have drawn against Celta Vigo for the semi-finals. Do you think still Europa League is the best chance for United to get to the promised land of Champions League?
For sure, for sure. I think Celta Vigo is. I won't say it's an easy draw, but it's a relatively easier draw. Um, just like Anderlecht, it'll be a tricky game, especially away in Spain. Um, you brought up some great points about the Anderlecht game. I think the win came at a big cost, which we're going to realize in the next few games in the Premier League. I think our finishing cost us. Uh, I won't say two injuries, but at least one injury. It cost us 30 minutes in extra time, which is equivalent to, I think, two games because it was played in one go. It cost us a lot mentally. We're gonna miss out on Valencia and Rashford tomorrow at least. Even if they play, they won't be at full strength. So I think the only lesson to take out of the game is that we should just finish well. We've been horrific as far as finishing is concerned. If you looked at the first half, we had easily we had about 10 chances to finish the game off, and we only took one chance. And they were easy chances. It's not that they were tough chances. Rashford, Mkhitaryan, they linked wonderfully, and even Pogba. I think Mourinho will be very frustrated, and I won't be surprised if he's already shopping for a finisher in the summer.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, just to finish up, you talked about the game having a mental impact, but it just showed to me why Marcus Rashford is in the team, and Mourinho called him out at the end of the press, but called him out in a good way. Like, he's a 19-year-old kid. He missed a potentially simple one-on-one with the keeper, but it didn't let him get to him. He created a chance for himself and scored. But that's what serial winners like Ferguson and Mourinho and Conte, these guys look for their players, and I think we knew we had a talent on our hands, but now we know that the talent is backed up by great mental approach to the game. So yeah, as you said, we probably will miss him during the Burnley game, but it should be some battle when he takes on Otamendi. Last time we played City away, he sent Di Michelis into retirement. So let's hope for at least a winner this time. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah,
Uh,
aren't we lucky to have such a great talent in our hands? I mean, he, what has he not done? He scored on all debuts in the Premier League in Europe for England, and he scored in his first Manchester derby, and he's proven his worth. Again in such a crunch game for United, and he's just a kid. We forget that he's just a teenager. So. Um, I mean, it takes a lot to be better than the rest, the other 10 Man United players who were paid probably 100 times more than him and are older than him. So it just shows what a great talent we have, for the future
yeah,
and
couldn't
present.
yeah, present. Yeah, couldn't agree more with that. Um, Moving on, the other game, and this is what Arvind, you told me. You feel that the Liverpool Crystal Palace game might be the ones to watch out for among those this weekend. Uh, what do you? I mean, Crystal Palace, of course, they need the points to save themselves from relegation, get into a much safer position, and and we've seen Liverpool struggle historically against teams in the middle and the bottom half of the table. Uh, what are your thoughts, Arvind? What do you think? Eh, what can we expect from this game?
Yeah, this is other than the Burnley Man United. I think this is the other exciting game of the weekend because Crystal Palace are already up at 15 now. They've racked up a couple of important wins against Chelsea and Arsenal, so they're definitely on the ascendancy. Couple of noteworthy players is Zaha and Sako. I guess we'll be talking about Sako a little bit more, but Liverpool as well have quietly notched up a couple of wins in the past few games. So it's one of those that will create an intriguing battle. This Crystal Palace team just seems like the ideal one that Liverpool early on the season were just dropping points back in January against teams that they should have been knocking out. So this would be another one where the result is not straightforward, and I won't be surprised if Palace nick a win here.
And the only positive thing that Liverpool can go approach the game with is, I think, that they're playing at home. They're just lucky that they're not playing Palace away tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, true. But you brought up Zaha, you brought up Sako. I guess unfortunately, Crystal Palace will miss Sako in defense this game because I think he's still on loan from Liverpool, right? Uh, but what an inspired signing by Sam Allardyce. I saw somewhere that in the past 5 games that they have had, of past 7 games, they've had like 5 clean sheets, and on the other hand, you see Liverpool, uh, struggling to string 2 clean sheets at a time, and they give one of their better defenders away, on loan. And uh, so, what has impressed you about Sako? What has he done to improve Crystal Palace's defending in general?
He's one of those where he looks very ugly when he's on the ball. He doesn't look comfortable.
Yeah, it looks
He
very
side foots
gangly. Yeah.
everything. Yeah, but his positioning sense is very good. He's great in his headers and clearances away from goal, and he just seems like that perfect defender that Liverpool could use right now. Uh, just on the note of Sako, a couple of things. One is he won't be available against Liverpool, of course, because he's on loan. But we just heard allegations, or it was just released that the ban that he had last summer during the Euro 2016 was for a substance that was not on the banned list. But WADA tested him after a game against United, and they banned him for that game. And it's just so sad. I feel like when footballers are young and when they imitate the Ronaldos and the Messis, they just dream of playing in the bigger stages. And it's just so sad. I just read an interview where Sako was like, no matter what you do, I am never going to be able to represent my country in my homeland for the national team ever again. And it just brings to perspective how small an international career is, and there's just so little to prove yourself. And it's just more about it's so much more about more than just money. And it's such a loss for a player like Sako to not be included and be banned in such an important stage.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you there, Arvin. Not just that, he also ended up missing Liverpool's last, 8 games or so that included the Europa League final. So, any final in a European competition is what footballers, or when they are kids, they dream about, right? And to be taken away, and of course you mentioned not being able to represent his country in his homeland, at the Euro tournament. You can't really get that back. That's
True.
unfortunate, and he's shown. I mean, I never rated him, to be honest, but he's shown that he can be a pretty useful defender. Uh, Talking about
And clearly,
what's
yeah,
that?
clearly he's not on level terms with Klopp, because Liverpool they've already released a statement that they'll not get him back in summer and they'll look to sell him. So they're only looking for potential suitors who can buy him. So it's sad that they prefer the likes of Klavan and Matip and Lovren to him. So yeah, it'll be a loss for Liverpool.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Uh, Still staying with the Liverpool Palace game, we've seen Zaha. He's been in tremendous form, especially came back from African Cup of Nations. I personally think that he'll be a big thorn in Liverpool's side, especially Benteke wanting to go back to his former club and proving them wrong as well. I think it'll be an enticing battle at Anfield. Given Liverpool are in form with Coutinho and Firmino back in the thick of goals. I think it'll be a very intriguing game. Of course, you'll see what you expect from a Klopp side. High energy, high pressing. But uh, one player that no one really talks about at Crystal Palace and is still contributing is Andros Townsend. Um, he's been there among the assists, among the goals, and with Liverpool maybe paying a little more attention to Zaha and Benteke, he might sneak in with a decent performance. What do you think, sir?
For sure, I think you bring up a very good point. Anders Townsend has a point to prove. He was an England international and he's been dropped recently. He failed at Newcastle and he's been the spark for them in the recent few games besides Zaha. So uh, very well put. I mean, going forward, he'll be a great threat, especially with the Liverpool defense. We know what they're not capable of. So I look forward to the game, especially with Zaha and Benteke both being in my fantasy Premier League team.
Yeah, we all have priorities, my friend.
Why not? Why not?
All right. Moving on to the other game this weekend, Everton versus West Ham. Uh, Everton still chasing an European spot. They are what tied or maybe ahead of Arsenal at the moment, but having played a couple of games more. Um, uh, I mean, they have impressed all of us this season, especially the second half of the season. Lukaku banging in goals for fun, uh, and Barkley getting some of his old form back. Uh, was it surprising to you that Barkley wasn't nominated in the PFA team? We'll talk about the PFA, the Player of the Year team, a little more in detail next. But what do you think? What's up with Ross Barkley?
I don't. I think he's not even been consistently getting selected at Everton. It's it's one of those we look at Rashford who's 18 and or 19 and we say that he's developing. Barkley's already 23, 24 and he's still in that exciting youth stage where the top clubs are looking at him, but he has not been able to hold on a regular spot at Everton. There are some exciting things about him. He has good pace and good dribbling skills, but he doesn't have the consistency that's needed for a player of his age that needs to you expect something him to be at a much higher caliber at this stage.
What do you think,
Very well,
sir?
yeah, very well put. I mean, as Arvind said, he's not a newbie in the Premier League. He's been playing for Everton since 2010. We tend to forget how long it's been since we've had Ross Barkley playing for Everton in the Premier League. So, I mean, 6 7 years is a long time for any player to prove his worth, and we're still not convinced that Lord Ross Barkley can do it consistently. So, I'm not at all surprised that he's not in the PFA Team of the Year. And um, I mean, yeah, going into the last few game weeks, I think uh, Everton have already told him that he should either sign a contract or he can leave. So if he's not looking to sign, I think he should probably give it his all just to find just to prove his worth to the likes of Spurs. I think Pochettino would be really interested in someone like Ross Barkley because I think he's the ideal coach who can develop him or take him to the next level. Also, Lukaku, you mentioned. Lukaku's already said that he's not signing a new contract, so I would think that he'll want to finish with the Golden Boot, just so he can find the best team in Europe.
Yep. So, moving on, let's talk a little bit about the team of the year that was released earlier this week. We've had our arguments amongst ourselves, thinking who should be there, who shouldn't be there. Let me just recap who the player of the team of the year is. It's De Gea in goal. Walker and Rose are the two left backs and the right backs. Cahill and Luis in the center of defense, and the midfield of Hazard, Dele Alli, Kante, Mane, and Kane and Lukaku as the strikers. Uh, I I don't see any issues with having Kane and Lukaku as striker. I think they picked themselves over their form this season. Mane has been terrific for Liverpool, but you can't really argue with Hazard's inclusion as well. But I think Mane's inclusion could be a debatable one. Do you
Yep.
guys think? Do you guys agree with the pick, or do you guys think that there's someone else who could have been closer with a better shout to get in?
I don't agree at all with Mane's pick. I think most people would agree that Sanchez would have been an automatic pick for the team of the year, but we've we've, we've kind of forgetting here that this is the PFA team of the year, and there's no panel that picks the team. It's fellow players who pick the team. So if 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 Sanchez is not playing for his club, he's not playing for the fans, and he's being a contract rebel, I'm not surprised that the players are not voting for him. Honestly, that's my explanation of not him, not Sanchez not being in the team of the year. But otherwise, I mean, if the contract issue was not brought up, I think he would have been an automatic pick.
Uh, what about you, Arvind? Do you think Mane deserves to be there?
Mane kind of just slots in, just based on how good he has been for Liverpool. I still remember the month of January when he wasn't there and seeing how Liverpool struggled. I think while Lukaku has been good, Zlatan might I would have put Zlatan there just for the reason, just looking at the percentage of goals that Zlatan has scored for United and considering it's his first season. The one surprise for me was Gary Cahill. I know I said it earlier in the pod, but he just seems like that one guy in the Chelsea defense who is most likely to be substituted in the next season. And I still remember mistakes against Swansea and Arsenal that for me there are much better defenders in the league, like a Van Dijk or a Michael Keane or a Maguire from Hull who could potentially replace him.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with your
Yeah,
pick
and
of
you.
Cahill there. I think Alderweireld, Van Tongen, Eric Bailly, they all had tremendous seasons. So yeah, Gary Cahill was a little debatable pick for me as well.
Yeah, and Arvind, you bring up Zlatan. I think I would prefer Lukaku over Zlatan. Zlatan's been great. I'm not saying Zlatan's been bad. He's been one of our best, or the best player, in fact. But I think Lukaku can do more than what Zlatan can do. He can run, which Zlatan can't do. So that's pretty much, and he beats him as far as goals are concerned. So as Shannon said, I think Kane and Lukaku kind of picked themselves.
Yeah. Again, De Gea, I think it's a very controversial, not a controversial, but a debatable decision.
Yeah,
He's
I mean,
been good past few years, but he hasn't had to do enough this season because defense has been so structured. And someone like Heaton probably deserved
yeah.
it more than De Gea.
Very well put. I think Tom Heaton's been one of the best goalkeepers this season. But again, if you ask someone who's the best keeper in the league, he'll say De Gea, even though he's not had to do a lot this season. So
Yeah, yeah, of course, he's the
he
best
he,
keeper
ki- he
in the
kind
league.
of picked he kind of picked himself based on reputation. And like Arvin said, I'm not at all convinced with Gary Cahill. I think you could name 10, 20 defenders who've been better than him.
Yep.
Another goalkeeper who's been good is Pickford from Sunderland. He's made some amazing saves, and I know Sunderland is still going to finish bottom of the league, but Pickford has just been great for them this season. That's another noteworthy exclusion.
Yeah, great points, guys. Great points. Moving on, final segment of this pod. Let's talk about the big boys, the Champions League, and it was a round of or a week of amazing games. Real beating Bayern Munich, somewhat controversially, you could say. Atletico overcoming Leicester. Juventus being stubborn as they could against Barcelona, and Monaco. Monaco beating quite convincingly beating Dortmund. So let's start with Real Bayern. Uh, so do you think it was a fair result? Do you think Bayern got a little hard done by?
Not at all. I think it was one of those games which makes a perfect case for introducing video technology in the game of football. It's kind of sad that football, being one of the biggest and famous sports in the world,
The biggest, I
still
would think.
doesn't still doesn't use video technology and the likes of cricket and baseball. Not that they're bad or lower sports, but not even on the same level as football. They're using video technology in and out. So I mean, both of Ronaldo's goals were not both, two out of three were clear offsides. So a game of this magnitude, they could have been easily ruled out if we used video technology. But but yeah, I mean, kudos to Madrid for sticking with it in the long run in the 120 minutes and coming out with the result.
Yeah.
And also I think Marcelo was one of the best players for Madrid. I think all of his runs were brilliant, even with that Ronaldo offside goal. I think he just ran from left back to center back through the midfield, running through till the box and passing it to Ronaldo. I think Marcelo was great.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I'm not the biggest fan of Marcelo. I think defensively he's not good, but I should add that in that Bayern game he made two amazing goal line clearances. And but the one player in Madrid that has caught my eye is Asensio. He's I the first time I saw him was against Chelsea in earlier this summer in a friendly, and that guy has some skill. He slotted into a Real Madrid team full of stars and kind of held his own. He's done well, and that last goal that he scored was proof of that. I think this is a future star in the rising.
Also Casemiro. I think Shannon. I remember you messaging me and telling me I wish we had someone like a Casemiro. And I mean Madrid's newspaper have been quoting him as the new Makelele. That's how good he's been for Madrid. In that CDM role.
Yeah. I mean, of course, he's been good, but Spanish newspapers have a tendency to overblow things, I would think, for an extent. He got a little lucky. He would have been him sent off instead of Vidal, and you'd be talking about a different game.
What do you guys think about Bayern missing out again and Ancelotti missing out again? Historically, Bayern are used to winning things easy, and that's not how it's been going for them recently.
Yeah. If
I think
anything, yeah, if anything, it shows how much we underestimated Zinedine Zidane as manager. We thought, okay, they just gave the job to him because he's a Madridista or whatnot, but he's shown he's a pretty capable manager. Able to motivate his players and have right tactics. But yeah, Arvind, go ahead. You had something to say.
I think about Bayern Munich, this was one of their really good games. They fought, they played really well, they dominated Madrid at Madrid, and it's just sad that it was the refereeing decisions. I mean, they with the team that they had, they were so capable of getting another goal and winning on away goals. It's sad that the game had to end that way. But yeah, Madrid go through and Bayern have to wait another year to prove their credentials.
Yep, yep. Good comments there, boys. Leicester City. Finally, the fairy tale comes to a sad end. Atletico proving too strong, and even after the spirited comeback through Vardy's goal, Leicester see themselves knocked out of the Champions League. Uh, so, do you think we'll see anything close to a story of Leicester City again? You know, from 24 months between being in the at the bottom place or like bottom three in relegation to winning the the Premier League, move forward 11 months, and playing one of the biggest sides in Europe in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Do you think we'll see anything close to that ever again?
No, I don't think we're going to see Leicester City ever do this again. I don't think Leicester City are going to see themselves do this ever again in their history. It was a miracle or a freak, if you want to call it that. You mentioned it was a sad ending. I think it was a very honorable ending. I think Leicester went out on a very honorable note. I think at Madrid they lost out on a controversial penalty, and at home it wasn't, you couldn't say that Atletico beat them convincingly. So I was really impressed with what how Leicester City performed in Europe this season. They could have very well just gone out in the first round, but they
Yeah, yeah,
didn't.
yeah, for
They
sure.
they made they made it this far, and they kind of just showed United, Chelsea, City, Spurs, Liverpool how it's done in Europe. Even though you're on the other side of the table, but you can still do it in Europe if you really want to do it. So it was a really respectable performance.
For those of our audience who also watch cricket, I would kind of compare Leicester to a Bangladesh cricket team. It's easy to win a T20 game here and there, but to consistently perform in a span of 2 years was just amazing. So I think this is it's some analogy, but I think Leicester do deserve credit for proving a long horse. Hopefully, now with six top teams in the Premier League, it is definitely
Yeah, we've just lost some viewers there. Sorry.
But I
but
think it was a good analogy, though. I thought it kind of made sense.
I think with now there being six top teams in the Premier League, it would probably be another 50 years before we see a Leicester story, which makes it even more incredible.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then moving on to the big billing, the rematch from 2015 final, Barca versus Juventus. Juventus got some revenge, and they got it in some style, man. Uh, they, I watched the game, and you could not deal with Juventus's defense. Uh, Bonucci and Chiellini and Dani Alves were just brilliant, and Barcelona had no answer to those the great wall of Italy, to be honest. Dybala and Higuain kept themselves busy, but uh, according to me, Juventus were the more deserved winners of that stage. Do you guys have any thoughts? I mean, you can't really uh, disagree with the comprehensive 3-0 win over Barcelona, can you?
Yeah, I think it's some achievement to not allow Barcelona to score over 180 minutes. That is some achievement. I don't know how often it's been done, but that is something noteworthy. I think Barcelona did have a few chances in that first half. Messi came close to scoring a couple of times, but with Buffon on goal and yeah, Juventus were just class apart. For me, they're the favorites to go ahead and win the tournament.
Yep, I agree with you there. And fun fact, we come across those every now and then. There have been two teams that have not allowed Barcelona to score across two legs before Juventus did. The first team being United in 2007 2008, and the second team being Chelsea in 2012 and 13. And in both those cases, the winners moved on to win the Champions League. So hopefully, this is Juventus's year. It's about time Buffon got his medal. Um,
That's a great start, by the way. That's a great start.
Thank you. I'm really proud of that one. And then the last but not the least, Borussia versus Monaco. The uh, the two teams that are built on wonder kids, but Monaco proving experience is invaluable, and Falcao scoring and I guess assisting a goal as well. Uh, I I I was a little disappointed with Dortmund. I think I expected a little more from them. I mean, I can't discount the horrific scenes that happened in Dortmund, and what effect that have might have played on their mental state. But playing away at Monaco, they decide to rest Ousmane Dembele, who's been their biggest creative outlet. Uh, and they got him in, I think, around the 30th minute, but wasn't good enough. Sid, what do you think? Monaco, a dark horse. Do you think they have any chance of going through Juve?
Yeah, I want to bring up a lot of points here. Firstly, I love the game, how I love the way how the game started. If some of you viewers don't know, the entirety of the Monaco Stadium actually sang "You'll Never Walk Alone," which is brilliant to see. We especially after what we saw at Leon Besiktas, what we see in the Premier League, where City fans are rallying out anti-Semitic chants to Spurs, and the small things like Chelsea fans taking a dig at Mourinho. Uh, it was beautiful to see the entire stadium singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" for Mark Bartra. Monaco actually handed him a Monaco jersey as well. So that was a great start to the game. As far as the game is concerned, I think Thomas Tuchel made a big mistake by going defensive from the start of the game. He rested his biggest influencers, namely Dembele, and his biggest creator in Christian Pulisic. And he realized that after what 20, 30, 37 minutes, I think. So I think it was just a case of Dortmund and the coaching team just getting it wrong on the day. And we can't praise Kylian Mbappe enough. I think he's been brilliant. He's one of the hottest properties in Europe right now, and I won't be surprised if he ends up in the Premier League. Um, Also, no one expected Monaco to do so well. I think Leonardo Jardim, the coach of Monaco, has raised his stock big time. Especially, I don't think he's going to end up in the Premier League because no one in the Premier League, especially in the top six, needs a new coach. But he's raised his stock big time, and I think going into the semi-finals, as you mentioned, Shannon, I think they're the dark horse, and they'll be the surprise team if there's going to be one in the Champions League.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
just
definitely. Monaco is definitely the most exciting team. I mean, Mbappe and Falcao and Mendy and Sidibe and Bakayoko, it's so much fun to watch them, and they
Right.
enjoy themselves playing.
And
Uh, I
and on the
said I
day,
just
yeah, sorry, just a second. On the day, I think it was worthy to note that all the attacks that Monaco had, they started with Bakayoko, and a lot of them ended with Mendy just shipping the ball into the box. So, um, also, it's worthy to note that a lot of the top clubs in the Premier League, namely Man City, and Liverpool and Arsenal, need a left back. So Mendy would be hot property, and obviously Bakayoko. We've been talking about him for so long. He bossed the game. I mean, if you can talk about bossing a game, a player bossing a game ever, Bakayoko just ruled the game, and all the attacks started from him. So it was a great game to watch. And you mentioned Falcao. I think. I don't know what happened to him in the Premier League. Maybe it was his knee injury. Maybe he wasn't just built for the English game. But he showed that uh, he's still good enough to be at the top level.
yeah, I
yeah
agree. I agree with Falcao. It's unfortunate we didn't get to see the real Falcao in the Premier League. I think he was just too early for him from his double or triple knee surgeries. But it's great, so good to see such a natural goal scorer back banging in the goals at in the top level at Europe. Arvind, did you have to say something?
Yeah, I think we've been talking a little bit about Wenger and replacements for him. I don't see why a Jardim could not do that. It's he's done so well in promoting youthful players at Monaco. They are exciting to watch in a very Arsenal-esque way, and I think he would be a good replacement. And Let's
But
see how that works out.
but for that, Arsenal would have to buy youth, and they don't spend money. So I don't know how that's gonna work out for Arsenal.
But I mean, good shout there, Arvind. I actually see the point there. And not to mention Monaco rumored to be signing Yuri Tillemans just to add to their growing collection of excellent youth players. But it was exciting semi-finals to look
you
forward to.
you brought up a great point, Shannon. I think Dortmund and Monaco are the right, at least currently, they're the best two teams as far as youth players are concerned. I think most of the shipment that's going to happen in the summer is going to be out of Monaco and Dortmund.
Just the term shipment. That's funny. All right. Well, just quickly, guys. If you had to pick a final between these four teams, who do you think it will be?
I'm gonna go with Real Madrid, Juventus, and Juventus winning it.
Good,
I'm
good.
gonna go with. I'm gonna go with. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go with the Madrid team and Juventus, and just for the sake of Buffon, Juventus winning it.
Yeah. So I think we have a consensus there with hopefully Buffon winning his championship medal for the Champions League. All right, boys. It's been a great discussion. Really one of the more comprehensive pods we've done. So, any final closing comments from either of you?
Yeah, I think the only thing I want to mention here is Delhi Ali missing out on the Player of the Year. I think that was one of the most surprising things that I came across in the past week or two. I I I don't know how he wasn't selected. I saw a beautiful stat which said that at this age and after the number of games he's played in the Premier League, I think it's 63. I might be wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's he's 63, 64, 65, somewhere in that range. He's better than Scholes, Lampard, and Gerrard combined. I mean, I don't know how you can beat that. And he's individually better than Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes. Um,
Possibly even Ronaldo, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know how he wasn't picked for the Player of the Year. It just some of the decisions just amaze me. So I honestly think he's one to watch in the Premier League, and just for the sake of the Premier League, I hope he doesn't leave Spurs and go to a Madrid or something like that. But I think he's one of the best players that the Premier League has.
All right, yeah, great thoughts.
I would just add that we are in the business end of the Premier League, and this is the time when winning matters. It's going to be an exciting next couple of weeks where a draw, a win, a point here and there, a lucky goal, a refereeing decision could kind of chart who wins or loses this year. So it's an interesting time. Looking forward to some big games ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been one of the most interesting seasons for me you know, except for Chelsea initially running away with the title, but the top four race, the relegation, the FA Cup, the Champions League. It's been one of the better football following seasons for me, and
And
let's
yeah,
hope
and
for the
just
best last 30 days.
Yeah, and as I pointed out to you, Shannon, r- till the end of the season, we're just gonna have 9 days where there's no football. So fun times going ahead. There's just gonna be football almost every day.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, guys. Thanks for joining me. And thank you, viewers. Please subscribe, like, comment, give us some feedback on what you think, and if you'd like us to discuss about something in particular. And hopefully, you guys have a good weekend. Thank you for joining us. Good night.